As Huo Yuhao listened to the Skydream Iceworm's explanation, he suddenly felt a strange feeling. Could it be that the Skydream Iceworm's name was because it had dreamt every day? Although I wasn't able to leave the icy cave, eating the 10,000-year ice pith simply felt too good. Thus, I was lucky to not be able to find a way out, because I found another large lump of 10,000-year ice pith whilst crawling around to look for one. I slept again, but I didn't even know how long I'd slept for this time yet. The first set of golden patterns had appeared on my body by the time I woke up. A golden pattern has an extremely important meaning to us iceworms. It signifies that our cultivation has reached 100,000 years. From what I remember, our iceworm clan has never had an existence possess a cultivation of 100,000 years. I was the first to do this. This was unprecedented in history. At that time, I evolved into a gold-patterned iceworm. I also had sufficient power to break through the ice and leave. However, at that time, I didn't know that 100,000-year soul beasts would suffer enormous restrictions, which would make it harder for them to increase their cultivation. Perhaps it was because I was lucky, or perhaps it was because our iceworm clan has a deficiency of combat strength, but I miraculously didn't attract any heavenly tribulation. The Skydream Iceworm sighed. I decided to continue sleeping, since I was too lazy to leave anyway. Thus, I continued to sleep in the icy caves. Because my cultivation had reached a certain level, I was able to break the ice and enter areas which I previously couldn't. This allowed me to find even more top-quality ice piths, all of which became my food. Just like that, I repeated the cycle of sleeping after eating, and eating after waking up. I didn't even know how much time had passed. Only the golden patterns on my body were able to tell me how long I'd lived for. In the end, I finished eating all of the ice pith within the icy caves one day. I then dug myself out from the bottom of the icy caves, arriving at the ocean. I floated in the ocean, and moved with the tide. I floated along the edge of the continent, eventually moving towards the south. I also encountered my first enemy during this journey. At that time, I already had 9 golden patterns, which meant that I was a powerful 900,000-year soul beast. I originally thought that I was an unequaled existence within this world. However, as he continued to speak, the Skydream Iceworm clearly became somewhat embarrassed. However, I'd never done anything nor fought with anyone when I was awake. In the end, I had to rely on my enormous spiritual energy to scare that enemy away. This finally roused my caution, which made me attempt to cultivate the ability to attack. However, I discovered that my cultivation lifespan didn't mean that I was strong. I was indeed a million-year soul beast, but my combat power was in fact inferior to some 10,000-year soul beasts. Those 10,000-year soul beasts that were good at fighting were simply opponents I couldn't hope to achieve victory over. The outside world was truly too dangerous. However, I didn't know the way back. I thought that since the ocean was dangerous, perhaps the continent would be safer. Thus, I went ashore. However, I discovered that the continent wasn't very peaceful either. Maybe it was an effect of absorbing too much ice pith, but my body had a special smell that could attract the attention of any and all soul beasts. It caused them to see me as food. In the end, I was captured by a strong 100,000-year soul beast from the Great Douluo Forest. However, it didn't immediately kill me. Instead, it brought me to the Great Douluo Forest. Only after listening to him did I understand what was going on. As it turned out, I possessed too much heaven and earth yuan qi. As long as they were able to absorb and transform my energy, any soul beast could become a 100,000-year soul beast, and any 100,000-year soul beasts could break free from the limit of their cultivation lifespan. But, it took a long time to absorb my energy, since the energy I'd cultivated for a million years was too enormous. Thus, it brought me back to its nest. However, that fellow underestimated how awesome this brother is. Although I wasn't too good at fighting, I was able to increase the strength of my aura. Thus, I was able to attract all of the 100,000-year soul beasts in the Great Douluo Forest. The huge battle royale that ensued included nearly every single soul beast in the Great Douluo Forest whose age exceeded 10,000. They fought so desperately. I originally thought that I now had a chance to escape. However, who could have known that they'd be so crafty? Once the battle had almost ended, they actually stopped and negotiated with each other. In the end, a tragedy occurred to this brother. They finally came to an agreement, deciding to absorb my power together, since the soul force in my body was large enough. After that, they trapped me in the center of the Great Star Do Forest and forced me to release the heaven and earth Yuan Qi from my body for them to absorb. The stronger soul beasts would be closer to me, and the benefits they obtained would thus be greater. These bastards practically took this brother as food. Since I had no way to resist them, I could only let them order me around. I tried to think of a plan to break free from their control whilst having my energy drained by them. My Yuan Qi was very pure, thus there was enough for them to absorb it for over 10,000 years. After a few thousand years of pondering and observing, I discovered that I'd not only need to escape from them, but would also need to conceal my aura to successfully break free from their control. You humans then appeared in my line of sight. There were a few times when some especially strong humans entered the depths of the Great Star Do Forest to hunt those 100,000-year soul beasts. Unfortunately, they were struck by a tragedy. Under the nourishment of this brother, the high-ranking soul beasts within the Great Star Do Forest had definitely become the strongest soul beasts on the Douluo Continent. Although those humans had extremely strong weapons, they could only suffer a big defeat. However, this allowed me to understand the advantages you humans had. Brother is a spiritual and ice dual attribute soul beast. After thinking about it for a long time, I decided to think of a way to become a human's soul ring. If this happened, that human would definitely become extraordinarily strong, and I could rely on my spiritual type attribute to preserve my own consciousness. Thus, I would become an unprecedented intelligent soul ring. Once that happened, brother would definitely get revenge, and would help that human kill all of the bastards who persecuted this brother. Hence, I started carrying out my plan. However, who could have known that I'd fail on my first attempt? The guy that I chose was what you humans call a titled Douluo, and he was rather strong. However, he was truly rubbish. He actually exploded immediately, before even seeing my real body. He couldn't even withstand the shock of my spiritual energy. Only then did I discover that becoming my host wasn't something so simple. They would first need to have a spiritual type attribute as well, and be able to sustain the energy of my soul power. This was something that was even harder. Hence, I had no results, even after searching for a few thousand years. At that point, my soul force had almost been fully drained by those 100,000-year soul beasts. This brother would have soon become akin to a candle that had no wax left. However, the heavens still took care of brother. When brother had already despaired, the 10th golden pattern appeared on my body. I'd finally become an unprecedented million-year soul beast. After the 10th golden pattern appeared, I finally possessed the power to resist those combat-oriented 100,000-year soul beasts, and I could also conceal my own aura. Thus, I renamed myself as the Skydream Iceworm. I was no longer a gold-patterned iceworm. However, I was definitely unable to beat so many 100,000-year soul beasts. Furthermore, my heaven and earth Yuan Qi had almost been fully absorbed by them. The only energy that I still had was my origin soul force, which was what would provide the greatest aid to them. These were my two great attributes, which had yet to be absorbed. Revenge was something currently unattainable for me. Hence, I found an opportunity, and used the energy that I had obtained after breaking through to conceal my aura. Then, I escaped by burrowing through the earth. The Skydream Iceworm sighed. Unfortunately, brother still suffered a tragedy. Breaking through to a million-year soul beast was actually a double-edged sword. Although I managed to barely break free from their control, my lifespan suddenly reached its end due to the heavenly tribulation that abruptly arrived. If I wasn't able to preserve my life with other methods, I would have died soon from exhaustion. It was also at this moment when brother met you, a young fellow. Although you were pitifully weak, brother had no other choice. Yet, you also had a spiritual type attribute. Hence, brother could only work hard to merge with your body. No matter which way you look at it, those bastards can't obtain this brother's most precious thing. Huo Yuhao had already forgotten his fear from earlier as he listened to the Skydream Iceworm's story. He felt righteously indignant as he said, "They're too despicable. How could they be like this? They actually trapped you for almost 10,000 years. The Skydream Iceworm felt that his anger gave them common ground as he said, "Exactly, although brother is quite cute, quite handsome, and quite strong, they simply can't treat brother as food. Things are good now though. On the whole, I've managed to escape and not allow them to obtain brother's body. Huo Yuhao, although you're young and your abilities are still lacking, it's fortunate that you're still pure. Brother will treat this as a plan to raise you up. When you're strong in the future, you must help brother get revenge. Didn't they rely on my soul force to evolve? In the future, turn them into your soul rings and soul bones. Humph, Huo Yuhao had no hesitation at all as he answered, I'll definitely help you get revenge after I grow up. This relationship between man and beast had rapidly deepened due to this slightly odd yet miraculous story. In reality, although the Skydream Iceworm had lived for 1,000,000 years, it had only met with a few soul beasts after all. Even though its intelligence wasn't inferior to that of a human's, how could it know that humans had sinister hearts? If a human had encountered fortunate events like the Skydream Iceworm had, he would absolutely not reveal his story so easily. Choosing a kid like Huo Yuhao, who was practically as white as a sheet of paper, was actually quite lucky for it. Brother Skydream, I still don't understand a few things. Since you're so strong, you had to seal your own power to become my soul ring. Just what's the matter with this? You still bestow a soul skill to me. After losing his fear, an even greater sense of curiosity filled Huo Yuhao's heart. The Skydream Iceworm laughed cunningly as he said, Brother naturally has a way. Since I've been planning this for so long, I've already prepared the proper arrangements. After obtaining some experience from blowing those humans up, I realized that all of my help will have to focus on your safety. I already have no way of retreat now. If you die, I die too. My original soul force was almost fully drained by those soul beasts from the Great Stardow Forest. Otherwise, your body wouldn't have been able to withstand my power, even if I'd sealed it. When I merged with your body, most of the energy that entered you was my origin energy and my spiritual energy. Can you see those 10 balls of light? They're the 10 seals that I've set up. If you look at it from another angle, it can be said that I've already bestowed you the power of your first soul ring. However, you're temporarily unable to use it. This also means that, although your first soul ring is a 1,000,000-year soul ring, it currently doesn't have the might of a 1,000,000-year soul ring. However, the energy that I've sealed within your body will gradually disperse as your cultivation improves, which in turn will increase the might of your soul ring. It might even increase the might of your future soul rings. After all, the energy that I've accumulated over 1,000,000 years is simply too enormous for you. Huo Yuhao blinked his eyes and said, I still don't fully understand what you're saying. The Skydream Iceworm unhappily said, Idiot. I'll repeat the simple points again. Your body, which has currently obtained its first soul ring, can only withstand the soul ring of a 400-year-old soul beast at most. Thus, the realistic might of your first soul ring is a 400-year soul ring. After you make a breakthrough, you'll be able to withstand the might of a 1,000-year soul ring, so your first soul ring will become a 1,000-year soul ring. Your first soul ring will follow the amount of energy that your body can withstand, and will increase accordingly. In other words, your first soul ring can evolve at any time, and your future soul rings will also have this benefit. Of course, this evolutionary energy that I can bestow upon you is limited. The stronger the soul ring you obtain in the future, the more energy you save for me. Using the energy that I sealed within your body, it can at most help increase 10 of your soul rings reach the 100,000-year soul ring rank. So many we soul masters can only possess 9 soul rings at most. No, Huo Yuhao spoke with a startled tone. The Skydream Iceworm snorted coldly and loftily said, That's only true for ordinary people. You're already no longer an ordinary person, ever since brother merged with you. A single martial soul can naturally only absorb only 9 soul rings. However, you currently don't just have a single martial soul. After killing a 100,000-year soul beast, you will both obtain a soul bone and a 100,000-year soul ring that contains 2 soul skills within it. You should know this. Huo Yuhao nodded his head. The Skydream Iceworm said. As a 1,000,000-year soul ring, and an unprecedented intelligent soul ring, I'm obviously stronger than them. Not only can my incarnation, which is your first soul ring, undergo unlimited evolution according to the condition of your body, it can also bestow 4 soul skills to you. However, I have no soul bones that I can give to you. Instead, I can give you another martial soul. Huo Yuhao had already predicted that a 1,000,000-year soul ring would benefit him greatly, but he'd never thought that it would be a soul ring that could undergo unlimited evolution had already caused him to be ineffably happy. Yet, the greater surprise was actually in its other benefits. 4 soul skills and an extra martial soul. Just what kind of concept was this? Since the 4 soul skills belonged to the first soul ring, their might would inevitably evolve as his first soul ring evolved. They were abilities that could be used forever. And, an extra martial soul could simply be described as a miracle. It was equivalent to turning him, who only had the spirit eyes martial soul, into a genius who had twin martial souls. Adding another martial soul would mean that he would have at least 9 additional soul rings, which would give him 9 more soul skills. How could 100,000-year soul ring even compare to the strength amplification of this million-year soul ring? Although his own strength was still weak even after obtaining these amplifications, and required him to slowly increase it, this million-year soul ring undoubtedly opened a great door to the heavens for Huo Yuhao, allowing him, who'd originally had mediocre talent, to have a future of unlimited possibilities. The martial soul that I've bestowed you with is ice, but it's ice that currently doesn't have a soul. The words that the Skydream Iceworm said next pulled Huo Yuhao back from his happiness. Ice that doesn't have a soul. What's that? Huo Yuhao had a look of doubt on his face. The Skydream Iceworm said, this means that the martial soul I've bestowed you currently only has an attribute, but not a form. When you absorb your first ice-type soul ring, the form of your second martial soul will be finalized. The soul beast of the soul ring you absorb then will thus become your second martial soul. This also means that your second martial soul will definitely be a beast soul. You don't have to worry about this, I've already thought about it for you. However, your current cultivation isn't sufficient. Once your strength is higher, I'll take you to complete your first ice-type soul ring. Now you should understand why I said that I wouldn't have enough energy to amplify your soul rings. Because of this, you must be extremely careful when choosing your soul rings, and you should listen to my